For most NBA fans, the NBA draft is the most exciting part of the NBA season, where for some teams, it punches their exit ticket out of the lottery, but for others, it cements them into a position where mediocrity gets celebrated. And this year, on July 29th, the 2021 NBA draft begins, featuring a star-studded class headlined by Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Jalen Suggs. So without further ado, let's get into my 2021 NBA mock draft. With the first overall pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State. The Pistons have their surrounding pieces in Jeremy Grant, Saddiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart. But what they need is a franchise guy. Cunningham, a do-it-all player, is their man. A 6'8" point guard who can make every pass in the book, has the patience and IQ of a veteran lead guard, and is an elite shot creator offensively, who could finish with touch or power, and can hit shots whether it be off screens or off the dribble. On top of that, his size at the point guard position makes him a nightmare when smaller defenders get switched onto him, and defensively, his ability to guard several positions man-to-man on top of his IQ and measurables makes for elite defensive upside. Cade is not only the #1 Detroit needs, but he is the leader they can securely build off of. In the second overall pick, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green from the G League Ignite. Perhaps the most electric athlete in the NBA draft, Jalen Green is a highlight reel waiting to happen. He has great touch and an ability to not only finish through contact, but can knock down a set of floaters and mid-range jumpers. Through the course of the past few years, he's developed into a deadly off-the-catch shooter and has the potential to be a quality playmaker in the NBA. He can be streaky at times as a shooter, but who isn't at 19? He also needs a build strength to help him defensively, but with him being well known for his strong work ethic, he'll continue to improve on those areas of his game, as he did in the G League playing against NBA caliber competition. To many, Jalen Green is the best scorer in this year's draft, and for the Houston Rockets, a much better fit next to Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood than Evan Mobley. With the third overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley out of USC. Mobley is one of the most unique players heading into this year's draft, with an ability to play out in the perimeter offensively with his good touch, handle, and feel for the game. He finishes well inside and can locate open teammates to distribute the ball to. He's patient when pressured, particularly when teams try and double team him, and he's already shown some shooting potential. In the NBA, he projects to be a great pick and roll threat, whether it be through the pick and pop or as an elite lob threat. But it's on the defensive ends where Mobley could be creating his own masterclass in the NBA. Not only is he capable of switching across screens onto smaller offensive players, but against the pick and roll he could drop back or even head to screens, making him an ideal big man in today's NBA. On top of that, he's a disciplined shot blocker who usually doesn't commit too many bad fouls. Now of course with Mobley, the big thing with him is that he'll need to gain strength in the NBA to battle against larger centers. But early on, putting him next to a guy in Jared Allen who's a much more capable post defender will allow him to play the 4 spot, where he may be best suited at year 1. And for Cleveland, to take the best player available here who has the upside of being the best player from this year's draft, it's a total no-brainer. With the 4th overall pick, the Toronto Raptors select Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga. Considering Kyle Lowry will most likely be gone this summer, Suggs would be the ideal successor at the point guard position. Not only that, but drafting Suggs would allow Toronto to essentially retain a lot of what Lowry provided: shot making, playmaking, hard-nosed defense, and most notably, leadership. He may have the highest IQ out of any player in this year's draft, along with a natural ability to lead and has a winning attitude contagious to those around him. He's an unselfish point guard, yet a confident scorer who constantly is changing speeds to apply pressure to his opponents. And being strong and athletic, Suggs finishes well around the rim and has a knack for finishing through contact. And his non-stop motor, paired along with his size, strength, and mindset, could make him another quality, versatile defender for Toronto. And as I said, he can be the leader in the locker room that does many of the little things well. What will help him stand out in Toronto, though, will be his drive and mindset to do whatever it takes to win. So at this point of the draft, after the top 4 is really where things start to get interesting. With the 5th overall pick, the Orlando Magic are going to select Scottie Barnes out of FSU. Barnes was a 6'8" point forward this past season who has a 7'2" wingspan. And thanks to his strong build and superb strength, the former Seminole can guard every position defensively, from opposing guards to most bigs. Offensively, he played point guard this year at FSU, being a quality playmaker who could facilitate and throw passes all across the floor. And being a premier competitor, if he can improve his lateral quickness, he will be a defensive menace alongside Jonathan Isaac in Orlando, which certainly should turn around Orlando's defense moving forward. Now, in order for him to reach his full potential, he must develop as a shooter, especially to get the most out of his playmaking on an already poor outside shooting team. With the 6th overall pick, the OKC Thunder select Jonathan Kuminga from the G League Ignite. Kuminga is a big big, bruising, strong, and athletic 6'8" who needs some refining to his game, but has all the upside to not only score from all three levels, but to be an incredible defender. He rebounds very well and has a physical profile to be a great defender in the NBA if he hones in on reaching his potential on the end of the floor. For OKC, they're getting the player with the most upside on the board here at 6. Kuminga in many NBA drafts would be a top 3 pick, but the stigma around him of being the biggest hit-or-miss prospect in this year's draft has caused his draft stock to go down. But if there's any place where Kuminga will be given the time and patience to develop, there's no better place than OKC. With the 7th overall pick, the Golden State Warriors select Moses Moody out of Arkansas. Assuming Golden State keeps his pick, they'll be looking for someone to take some of the pressure off Klay Thompson as he returns. And for the Warriors, they know exactly what they're getting out of Moses Moody, a 6'5" swingman with a strong build and 7-foot wingspan, helping him be a quality defender, which would help take Golden State's defense to the next level. Offensively, he would be a good cheater to add into the mix off of the ball and rebounds pretty well. Now, he doesn't have the handle or ability to finish at the rim to make him a big-time scorer, but for Golden State, adding a quality 3-and-D wing with great defensive upside makes good use of the 7th overall pick. And with the 8th overall pick, the Orlando Magic take Franz Wagner out of Michigan. Out of all the players mentioned so far, he has the lowest ceiling, but adds a lot of what Orlando is looking for. Wagner, while his percentages aren't the highest, is a good spot-up shooter who is a good decision maker and unselfish distributor who has a good vision and feel for the game. Defensively, he always knows where to be, and even at 6'10" has the quickness to guard 2 to 3 positions. With the 9th overall pick, the Sacramento Kings select Jalen Johnson out of Duke. Johnson is a 6'8" uber athletic forward with two-way upside for Sacramento. He played a small sample size of just 13 games at Duke, but that was enough to suggest how much pressure he'll be able to put on opposing defenses at the pro level. He's able to constantly attack the rim and is a good playmaker at the forward spot thanks to his awareness and ability to see over defenses. Defensively, he can contain smaller defenders thanks to his strength and lateral quickness, and could even serve as small ball big at times for Sacramento. Where he'll need to improve will be his shooting, as he did make 8 of his 18 3-point attempts at Duke, but his mechanics and shooting at the other levels of the floor raised some concern for most NBA scouts. With the 10th overall pick, the Pelicans select Davion Mitchell. Being 23, Mitchell is an experienced player that can come in and help whatever team he goes to with his two-way ability. He's shown signs of being a good 3-point shooter after improving to 45% this past year, and has the ability to create separation for pull-up jumpers or get to the rim. But being a fierce competitor, even at 6'1", Mitchell can help set the tone between many of the little things like taking charges, diving on loose balls, or bringing great energy. And despite his size, he's a capable pick-and-roll defender who fights through screens and can not only stay in front of quick guards, but is tough enough to guard larger opponents. With the 11th overall pick, the Hornets take Kai Jones out of Texas. Being the Hornets' only center on the roster right now is Vernon Carey Jr., the biggest need for the team is the center position. But for them, taking a center who could fit alongside LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, and Terry Rozier will be key. Preferably someone who's a good rim runner and lob threat for LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward to throw it up to, with the bonus of being a good defensive player. That mold is Kai Jones, a hyper-athletic 6'11" center who at the very least will serve as that lob threat and rim runner Charlotte's looking for. Putting him with LaMelo Ball to elevate his strengths on the offensive end, and defensively he has the mobility to switch across different positions. He's a good shot blocker and has shown glimpses of unique perimeter skills as a pull-up shooter and ball handler. In terms of what he needs to improve on, it'll be crucial he builds strength at the pro level. Being just 220 pounds, it's easy for stronger opponents to go through him. With the 12th overall pick, the Spurs take Alperen Sengun out of the Turkish League. After winning MVP in the Turkish League at just 18 years old, Sengun's draft stock rose into the lottery this season. At 6'10", Sengun has a good feel for the game with both hands as an interior scorer, where he's put his impressive footwork on full display. He's also a good rebounder who can finish through contact and gets to the foul line often, where he shot 81% at this season. He's a great passer who can facilitate from a variety of areas on the floor, with the upside of being an offensive hub one day. He isn't a floor spacing big for right now, but being he shot 81% from the foul line, there is some potential there to grow from. His biggest concern though is how he's going to fit into the NBA as a defender. Being a bit undersized, many question if he could defend bigger guys in the post, and his lack of quickness on his feet makes him a shaky perimeter defender. With the 13th overall pick, the Pacers select Corey Kispert out of Gonzaga. With a healthy Pacers team and Rick Carlisle back in town, the Pacers had their sights set on getting back to where they once were. So at the 13th pick, they need to go with an NBA-ready prospect who can contribute immediately off of the bench. Kispert, a 3-year college starter at Gonzaga, is not only a knockdown shooter, but a solid defender. Indiana could look to improve their outside shooting, and Kispert can help them accomplish just that, especially if Doug McDermott leaves this offseason. With the 14th overall pick, the Warriors select James Bouknight out of UConn. Bouknight is a 6'4", maybe 6'5" guard coming off 2 years of college where he showed a clear ability to score at all 3 levels. Golden State, meanwhile, is a nightmare offensively when Steph Curry is off the floor. So finding a pure scorer who can create his own shot is great value here at pick 14 for Golden State. Bouknight will provide a much-needed scoring punch off the bench alongside Jordan Poole, allowing Steph to relax a little bit in the regular season so the Warriors can be ready for a deep playoff run in 2022. Defensively, Bouknight can be a bit inconsistent as an on-ball defender, but has the size and speed to be a good enough defensive player if Steve Kerr tries playing him with Steph Curry. With that being said, that will conclude my 2021 NBA mock draft. The top 5 prospects left on the board post-lottery are Keon Johnson, Josh Giddey, Zaire Williams, Trey Mann, and Cameron Thomas.